said yes. Meantime, Wells Fargo admitting it made mistakes in underwriting for home loans, and it resulted in 400 of its own customers wrongfully foreclosed on. Wall Street today notching a third day in a row of modest gains thanks to more strong earnings and oil moving higher. That's on new U.S. sanctions against Iran. The Dow today up 39, the Nasdaq up 47. Indra Nooyi, the CEO of PepsiCo, announcing she'll step down in October. And the Princeton Review crowning the University of Delaware and its Blue Hens as the nation's #1 party school for this year. I'm Tom Busby, CNBC.
Grainger stands for safety, and they know what safety stands for. S, safety. A, all about safety. F, feeling good about safety. E, extreme safety. T, talking about safety. Y, you guessed it, safety. First aid kits, eye wash stations, fire protection, you name it. For over 90 years, they've been helping to keep facilities safe and people safer. When it comes to safety, Grainger's got your BACK. Call or click Grainger.com to see for yourself. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
There's a common thread I see every time I'm in the field.
While this was burning, you were saving other homes.
Neighbors helping neighbors, and strangers alike.
No official first responders here, just volunteers going in and bringing folks out.
This is what America's about.
Sometimes it's nice to see all the good that's out there.
We have seen it in community after community after community.
Watch NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, evenings on NBC.
NBC News Radio, I'm Tom Roberts. Reports say Paul Manafort's former right-hand man Rick Gates is taking the stand today in the trial of President Trump's former campaign chairman. Gates is expected to testify that Manafort filed false tax returns and committed bank fraud. Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson says he's appalled by the weekend shooting deaths.
So listen, it's no secret that we had an unacceptably violent weekend.
Dozens were shot and at least 11 have been confirmed dead in what Johnson describes as gang conflicts. The Mendocino Complex fire is now the second largest wildfire in California history and is on track to become the largest. The blaze is only 30% contained and tore through another 7,000 acres overnight. Pop star Demi Lovato reportedly is out of the hospital and checking into a rehab facility. Lovato released a statement yesterday about her suspected overdose last month, saying she'll continue to heal and focus on her sobriety. Robert Redford is announcing his retirement from acting. Tom Roberts, NBC News Radio.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email ceo@kcaaradio.com.
Wet n Wild Palm Springs is the one where you get big water park fun. Yeah, dive into all the action-packed thrills with exciting rides, slippery slides, cool water adventures, and so many ways to just chill. So get everyone together and get to Wet n Wild Palm Springs. For unlimited fun, get a season pass. Buy now, get a free ticket for a friend, and more. All for just $64.99 at wetandwildpalmsprings.com or at Food for Less. Offer ends soon. Park open daily.
Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you always tired and worn out? Is it affecting your work and personal life? Well, South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out. South Pacific Sleep Lab provides a personal study of your sleep patterns. With their trained specialists, they will diagnose your sleep habits and will give you a prognosis for getting a great relaxing night of sleep. South Pacific Sleep Lab has locations throughout Southern California, including Fontana, and will provide transportation to any of their locations at no cost to you. To find out more, give them a call at 844-SAD-5050. That's 844-SAD-5050. South Pacific Sleep Lab. Start resting easy and sleeping sound today.
Psst. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you know where you are? Well, you've done it now. You're listening to KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station. So expect the unexpected.
And now, it's For the People with Judge Herb Dodell.
Okay, we're on, right?
You're on, Judge.
Just need to know if I'm talking to you or I'm talking to the world.
You're talking to the world and me at the same
Tell
time.
me all these great numbers that are out there, you know, and one of the things I want to do, as I think of trying to get a new idea for each week, something different, we're going to do the audience participation thing one of these days, and we're working on it.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is people are inquiring about subject matters from the YouTubes. People watch YouTubes.
Of course they do.
They're 3, 4, 5 minutes long. They're really short, and they're concise, and they give people an idea of what they'd like to hear more. So rather than limiting it to the couple minutes that we have on a YouTube, I want to make part of them included in the show itself. So subject matters are near and dear to you. I noticed that we did the show on legalization of marijuana, and I thought we did that one for you.
Oh, real? Thank you.
Well, you know.
What, like I'm some stoner or something?
We're not going to do any of these sexual harassment stories in honor of anybody.
Well,
but we know some people.
Well, we do. I've never sexually harassed a woman in my entire life.
But you put your hand on someone's knee. You told
No, I said what would happen if I was at the bar and I put my hand on someone's knee, a woman's knee, and would that be considered sexual assault or sexual harassment, or I don't know?
Well, without consent, it might very well be.
I could get thrown in jail.
Unlikely. Unlikely. There's plenty of people out there we could use as examples.
Yes.
In fact, there are plenty of people out there we could use as examples for almost everything we talk about.
Absolutely.
It comes right down to it.
Absolutely.
But today, we have a special guest. You hear all these advertisements on CNN and Fox News and MSNBC. If you owe the government more than $10,000, the IRS is going to come and close you down. They're going to take your firstborn. They're going to sell your house. You hear all these commercials, and then you hear the guy at the end say, but now I'm free. I opened that letter, and it said I was free. So I'm going to have somebody here to tell you whether or not that's really true.
Oh, cool.
And how it really works. This is a guy that wrote the book. In fact, I made some notes of what his book is called. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Tax Resolution. His name is Peter Steffen.
Yeah.
And he is qualified by the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy. He's a CPA, the IRS, the State Bar of California and New York, and other states. And he provides professional education to certified public accountants. So he really knows
his stuff.
And by the way, he's I think he's the chairman of the board. Is he a chairman? No, he's a director.
Yeah.
Of the Tax Resolution Institute.
Cool.
It's a very high-end, high-quality, intellectual, successful operation. I know a little bit about these guys, that they know all the little things. You know, when you hear about people beating the taxes and all the loopholes and things like that, this doesn't come from just picking up books.
Right.
This comes from real live experience. And this is the guy that knows the loopholes.
Isn't this what Manafort's going through? Like he tried to dodge his taxes and said that he was broke and all this stuff. And I guess Rick Gates, who was one of his main cohorts, is testifying as we speak, I believe.
Yeah, he's testified so far. I've been listening to it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
What do you think?
I'm fascinated by it because, well, you know what you get. I mentioned it, I think, in one of the other shows. When you get a witness against you that's got immunity, you're not going to be able to beat up on the actual subject matters, and all you can do is beat up on the people.
Well, his reputation as supposedly a liar, try to call, that's what
he
they're
has
trying.
Experience.
Exactly.
An experienced liar. He's got a lot of company out there, by the way.
I'm sure he does.
But the fact of the matter is, it was kind of interesting what I heard today, listening for the both positive and negative sides of it. I can see the cross-examination right now, even though it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
I got to know exactly what I would be doing if I was them, the defense.
Well, you try to poke holes through his testimony and his credibility, wouldn't you?
His credibility. Well, first, you ask the obvious question. It doesn't go very far. Really, it doesn't. You have immunity, don't you, right? Yes. It means that no matter what you did, as laid out in this agreement, you cannot be prosecuted. So you have a motive.
Yeah.
You have to go there. That's the first place you go.
Right.
Doesn't really work that well, frankly, I've seen a lot of times where you have people who flip.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a
Basically the
question.
same thing.
Does the prosecution bring up what he's done illegally? Like, if you get immunity, would you say, well, you've committed this, this, and that? And he would say, yes, I have.
Yeah.
And so you sort of counteract the defense by bringing the prosecution bring it up first, right? His illegal acts.
Well, it's part of what I would call it, I guess, a litigation strategy. If you know you're going to get bit by it, put it out there first, take the bite out.
Right.
Take the sting out first. That's why people are commenting, and I'm not making any comments myself, as to why a lot of this stuff is coming out in these tweets. Why all of a sudden are things being acknowledged that was denied previously?
Oh, by Trump you're talking about.
By a bunch of people.
Oh, you're talking about the campaign.
Whatever it is, all of a sudden things that were previously denied, real righteous denials.
Right.
And and very specific in the denials. Now all of a sudden the answers are coming out. They're a little bit different. Why is that? It's because they recognize, in my opinion, they recognize it's coming out. And better you should be able to put your own spin on it in advance and call it something, as opposed to having it announced on Don Lemon or wherever they announce these things.
Don Lemon.
Well, wherever they do it.
Of course, Cuomo, wherever they do it.
Look, and I listen to Fox News too.
Yeah.
Because I find it interesting that there's there's a lot of diversity. The base people are going to believe whatever they are being told. The people who are anti are not going to believe anything that they're told.
I mean,
it doesn't make any difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, all of them are jaded. Fox is jaded to the right. MSNBC or whatever is jaded to the left. CNN, I thought was down the middle, but they're going far left now. In my view. I mean, I used to always watch CNN. I thought they were the most fair news organization, and now they're like, they're sort of.
But here's what happened. Left. Here's what happened with Gates today.
Okay.
He admitted. I suspect it was brought out by the prosecution. I just suspect that it's typical of what we were just talking about, bringing it out ahead of time, as opposed to somebody cross-examining you and coming out that way.
Yeah.
He's admitted that he stole money from Manafort.
Oh, really?
He stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from Manafort. So he was stealing from anybody who was around.
I thought Manafort was broke, though. He said in 2016, Manafort, with his tax returns or whatever, said he was broke.
No, he's going to tell him he's going to buy him a suit. But the fact is that
ostrich.
I had an ostrich briefcase one time. It was very nice. I got it as a gift.
Wow.
I didn't realize how expensive it was.
Yeah.
It was a satisfied client. One of the few.
Poor ostrich.
I can't say that they were unsatisfied clients, but very few clients at the end of the day come back and will buy you something.
Yeah, right. He was very happy.
It was very nice. In fact, it was stolen in Miami.
Oh my God.
And I went out into the deep underground
to find
some people, and I offered some green money if somebody could find it, right?
Yeah.
And somebody did.
Wow.
I paid somebody off.
What was the ransom that you paid?
It wasn't that much, but it was a very personal briefcase that had come from a client with whom I had a nice, friendly relationship, and I didn't want to lose it.
That's cool.
But he testified that he stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from Manafort.
Really? He did?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you know what the answer to that really is?
No,
You're
what
a
is
thief.
it?
It's just a question of who you're stealing from.
Yeah, well, he's a thief, but I mean, he also knew the inside workings of what Manafort was doing too.
Yeah, I think they're in big trouble. In fact, one of the things that happens in a lawsuit, last week we talked about the hearsay rule and the business records exception, meaning that even though something is hearsay, if it meets the foundational requirements for an exception to the hearsay rule, it comes in. And they had a couple of people who got immunity, and we'll talk about that right after the break.
All right. It's For the People with Judge Herb Dodell. Listen, you guys can email him. He'll actually take your email request. AskJudgeHerb@gmail.com. Don't be afraid. Don't think he's going to bust you and throw you in jail.
Well, you know what? I wrote down this morning some of the comments that we had gotten on subject matters that are interested to the public. And this show is for the people. So
cool.
I'm going to talk about that.
KCAA. Herb Dodell is a lawyer and a judge for the people. Having served as a Superior Court judge, presiding over more than 9,000 cases, He has witnessed firsthand how complicated and corrupt the legal system can be. His goal is to show how things really work in the legal system so that people can navigate the legal system in the best way for them. Many people often feel marginalized by the legal system and are uninformed about how to proceed when unfortunate circumstances arise in their life. Judge Herb will pull back the curtain, lift the veil, so people can truly understand their rights, have access to top legal personnel that they can trust, and have knowledge about how things work so they can make better choices. Judge Herb isn't just knowledgeable. His integrity and spiritual values are truly what make him different. He cares about democratizing access and information for all and desires to turn on the light so the people, you, can benefit. For more information, email the judge at askjudgeherb@gmail.com. That's askjudgeherb@gmail.com.
Anyway, we were previously talking about immunity. It only goes so far. It doesn't protect you from an attack on your character, and that's what they're going to be doing. The cross-examination of this guy is going to be, you stole money from this guy. You stole money from that guy. There's a code section in California that allows for prior acts, which are borderline on character, to come in to evidence, and that's very damaging, very, very damaging. In other words, you stole from Harry, you stole from Bill, you stole from Tom, you stole from Mary, whatever it is. Obviously, you must have stolen from this guy. And if you're a thief, you're an admitted thief, how much should we believe what you're saying right now? You basically sold what you had to somebody for a pass. That's the best shot you have. But I was getting into the business record exception before we took the break. They gave immunity to somebody who created the documents. That's making what's called an authentication, because you have to authenticate something, who the writer is, who the author may have been, things like that. It's got a technical, legal, evidentiary term called authentication.
Mm-hmm.
And then that person identifying, I think it was a woman, identified that she prepared all of these things.
Yeah.
She was an accountant.
She was his accountant.
Second accountant.
Yeah, I mean, there was like 2 women that testified yesterday basically saying that, Manafort lied about what he was making. I mean, he said he was broke. I mean, right before the 2016 election, and then he's got all these expensive items. I'm just, that's what they said in court. I don't know.
But the fact of the matter is those witnesses are really foundational witnesses.
Right.
They don't get to give opinions generally unless they're qualified as experts on a particular subject matter. But they can say that they got these documents, these records, and they didn't believe they were accurate, and why they don't believe they're accurate without bordering on a professional analytical opinion. I remember back in the day, as they say.
Back in the day.
I had a client, and the IRS was chasing him. I was talking to the IRS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Justice Department. This was already over the top.
Yeah.
And they thought he was a major, major, major drug dealer, and he had a ton of money and never paid taxes, not a dime.
Really?
And they were after him. They were in New Jersey. I'll never forget it. And I was here. I was talking to him, and I had him in the office one day, and he wore the most magnificent watch, and he had a chain around his neck that probably made him look like a hunchback because he was so heavy. But he was making a load of money, and he was spending it all on material things, which was the stupidest thing he could do.
Of course.
Because one of the people that told me, one of the people we hired to try to defend him, said that don't ever use money that you haven't declared to buy material things that are traceable. Where did he get $10,000, $15,000 to buy this watch. Where did he get it?
Yeah.
He didn't show any income for 10 years. Where did he get it? Did he find it in one of these Cracker Jack boxes?
Yeah, shoebox.
But he did it a lot.
Wow.
He bought himself a really fancy car. No income.
Stupid.
Very stupid.
It's like Manafort. That's what he did. That's what they're nailing his ass for.
But he did it in a way that he thought he was going to be able to get away with it.
Well, of course. They all do, don't they?
They set up all of these offshore. You probably heard that term before.
Yeah, offshore.
They set up all these offshore banks that exist only for people like this.
Yeah.
And so we're all the business company. You think the guy in the Bahamas is walking in to make a deposit in his local branch, and he's making $43 a week? You know, they're not in business for those people.
Right.
They're in business for the people with the real money.
The high rollers.
The money never. It used to be the Swiss. Everybody ran to Switzerland.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Why?
Because they changed the laws in
Switzerland.
Did they? It used to be you couldn't get a disclosure for anything.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Secrecy
was
Swiss
secrecy. Bank account. Remember?
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And really, it went back to the time of the Nazis because a lot of them were putting their money in Swiss banks.
Ah, okay.
And they were totally protected from any kind of disclosure.
Well, they were neutral in the war, weren't they? Switzerland during the World War II.
At least they were described as neutral. I'm not so sure they were as neutral as they would like everybody to think.
I hear you.
But I keep thinking of The Sound of Music. Walking over that mountain into Switzerland. Oh, wonderful.
Chocolate.
Oh, it was
I'm sure the Jews loved it.
Well, I don't know. It was a great movie. Fabulous movie. But the bottom line is they set up these corporations or these entities. They have what's called an LLC now.
Right.
And for those of you who have never heard that term or have heard it and didn't know what it means limited liability company. And it's like a corporation. It provides security against the members of this LLC, avoiding personal liability. It's like a corporation. That's why people form corporations.
Yeah.
People always want to know, why do you form a corporation? Well, because if there's liability, it lands on the corporation. If the corporation doesn't have any assets, it doesn't go past there unless you can prove what's called an alter ego. Alter ego doesn't mean you're working at the church. The alter ego means that you're not following the rules on filings and disclosures, and you don't have meetings. You're supposed to have meetings. How many corporations have meetings? Small corporations?
Not many.
Very, very few. If they have a meeting, it's over at the bar.
Right.
It's not, there's no real meetings.
We used to have ours at the Playboy Mansion, but that's another story.
We talked about Hefner here before. He was a nice man.
He was.
He was. I took his deposition.
Very cool.
He was cool when I took his deposition. He came with a 6-pack of Pepsi.
Did he wear his robe?
He didn't wear anything, but as he was leaving, I was.
You didn't wear anything? What? No.
Well, I said to him as he was leaving the office, he had to come to my office.
Yeah.
Court ordered him to come to my office. Court order.
Wow.
Because he refused to show up at his deposition the first time. And so I got the judge to give me some money, sanctions for not showing up and making him show up under the threat that they would strike his answer to the complaint.
What was he? Just tell people who don't know what was his deposition over?
Well, what happened was I was representing the chef at the Playboy Mansion.
Okay. Good food there, by the way.
He was really the fly on the wall. But anyway, but the bottom line, he was leaving from work one day, and the guard dogs bit him on his lip.
Really?
They tore a big spot up his lip.
Uh-huh.
So he went to the plastic surgeon, and they repaired everything else. And we tried to sue him, and they claimed that it was covered by workers' compensation. For those of you who don't know the difference, workers' compensation is nickels and dimes versus the dollars from regular civil litigations. You want to stay out of workers' comp if you can, if you're trying to make any real money, because all they do is look at a chart on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, you're 10% disabled, you get $11.14.
Right.
That's the way that works. And so I had a young lawyer. He couldn't have been a lawyer more than 6 months. He researched it, and he found an exception. That's what good research will do for you. He found an exception that if you're a domestic employee for less than 40 hours a week, you're not covered by workers' comp.
Oh, wow.
So we were allowed to sue him in regular court.
Oh, okay.
So we did. I named him personally and named the corporation, and I didn't name the dogs.
You didn't name the dogs?
No, because I kept saying, who let the dogs out? But the reality was that I noticed his deposition, and he had a pretty good lawyer. His name was Paul Sullivan. He was a pretty good entertainment lawyer. And they tried every which way to prevent it from happening. And when I noticed it and gave them proper notice, because you have to notify a party that you're taking their deposition, you got to give them a certain amount of time so they can object or do whatever they need to do. They just didn't show. And
very rude of Hef.
I doubt if Hefner had any real knowledge about any of this, personally. And what happened was I went to court, and the judge was a real fuddy-duddy. I remember him. He was an old, crotchety old man, but he was. But he was cool with me on this one. He said he's no better than anybody else, and he's going to show up at any place you would designate. So they said to me, well, why don't you come to the mansion? I said, I don't need to come to the mansion.
What, Judge?
I don't need to
all
come
those
to the
hot
mansion.
chicks there. They're probably in the
Distraction.
They're trying to distract you. They probably have them all lined up for you. You wouldn't even know it.
Well,
you'd be going, yeah. Why am I here?
No, but I basically told him, I said, I'm not really interested in coming to the mansion. Yeah. I would like him to come to my office on Sunset Boulevard at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon.
Oh, that sucks.
I
terrible.
wanted to get him in the middle of the traffic.
That's terrible.
And did. He showed up. And so at the end, as he was leaving, I said to him, there's nothing personal. I admire a lot of the work that you do and yada, yada, but it's too bad you're going to have to sit in court for 3 weeks and watch this. And he smiled, and he knew exactly where I was going. And I settled the case about a week later, and I bought a house.
You bought a house? The one in Agora?
No. I bought a house, my first house.
Wow. Congratulations.
It goes back long. I'm married 40 years. So it was before I was even married. So it shows you how old this story is. But it gets better with age.
It always does, doesn't it?
I don't add anything.
Don't add or subtract.
But what I was saying before is that people ask me lots of questions, even at cocktail parties.
I bet.
They say, I heard your show, or I saw your YouTube. What do I do if?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't give legal advice.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Right.
So, but here's possible remedies for you. For example, we did a YouTube on defaults. Remember?
Yes, we did just recently.
Just last week, I think.
Yes, we did.
And what happens is, if you don't answer a complaint on time, the other side, the party, which is usually the plaintiff, will get a default against you.
Right.
If you get a default against you, you get generally what it is that you're asking for in your complaint.
Hey, Judge, excuse me. I think we have your
Peter
guest.
Steffen?
I think so.
Okay.
Hello, caller? Hello?
Hi. How may I help you?
I don't know.
Peter Steffen is supposed to be calling us.
Okay. One moment, Mr. Dodell.
Very seriously, the IRS makes mistakes. So
They do?
They do. The IRS makes mistakes.
No.
to make sure you're
I
He's
thought
there. He's there.
He's here. Do you want to? Well, we're going to take a break in about a minute and a half. You want to just get him on the phone for a minute? And
I'll
then,
tell him to go down the hall and come back.
Go down the hall.
Down the hall to the right, past the elevator.
There he is, Judge.
Mr. Steffen.
Hey, hi, Herb. How are you?
I'm good. You're on a show called For the People, featuring Gary Garver.
Hello there.
And Gary's
Hello, Governor.
right here wearing a bright yellow shirt.
It's hot out, Judge.
We're gonna talk. we're gonna talk about those phone calls to the IRS, and we're gonna talk about those radio and TV ads that drive us all crazy listening on all the networks. You owe the IRS more than $10,000. We're gonna make your life better. So we're gonna talk about that. Is that real? Is that just a hype? Can you really do it? But we got to take our break first. We're going to come back in 1 minute.
Well, Judge, we got about a minute. So why don't you tell us what Mr.
Okay, why don't you
Steffen's
tell me what you do, Mr. Steffen?
quickly?
Well, my name's Mr. Steffen, and I've been a CPA for just about 40 years. I've been practicing in the area of tax controversy, tax resolution for about 30 of those years.
Got a terrible connection here, by the way.
Are you on a landline, sir?
I am.
Okay. Can you call us back during the break? We're going to take a break right now. If you can just call us back, that'd be great.
I'll do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Judge. We're going to take a break. Okay. Is that okay?
Good.
All right. It's For the People, Judge Herb Dodell, and we'll be back with more from the judge right after these important messages.
NBC Talk Radio, 1050 AM, KCAA.
In his book, From the Trench to the Bench, Judge Herb Dodell demystifies the legal system, including both civil and criminal, the lawyers, the judges, and the process. As a judge, former deputy district attorney, and criminal defense attorney, he knows the legal system. He has the inside information that you need to pick a lawyer, and he's here to give it to you. No matter what you're facing that makes you think you may need a lawyer, Judge Herb will shed valuable light on your situation and reveal your best options and many secrets of how the judicial system actually works. To find out more about how the legal system really works, you can get your copy of Judge Herb Dodell's eye-opening book, From the Trench to the Bench, at Amazon.com.
I guess we're back with a terrible connection. Anyway,
it's okay now.
Okay, that's great. Are you there, Mr. Stefan?
Hold on.
Yes, connection's good on my side. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's good.
See, Judge?
I know you're a CPA, and you're extremely well qualified, and you give lots of lectures and webinars and teach many people in your industry. Tax resolution is what it's called, isn't it? Aren't you the director of the Tax Resolution Institute or something?
I'm the director of the Tax Resolution Institute, where we teach other CPAs, attorneys, and enrolled agents how to practice in this area: IRS collection, audit, and appeals, including tax court.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, if you owe money to the IRS or the state, or you have complex tax audit issues, you come to us and we fix it. So basically, if you owe $1 million to the IRS, you come to me and fix it. If you owe sales tax, if you owe payroll taxes, if you have if the IRS is audited you, and maybe your CPA or lawyer messed up the audit, you'd come to me. We get a second bite at the apple. We know how to do that.
Well, we're getting a little chopping on this on the phone. I don't know. Maybe you're sitting too close to it. I've been hearing these commercials. I actually turn off the radio because I am so tired of listening to them. Do you owe the IRS more than $10,000? They're going to garnish your salary. They're going to take your house. They're going to take your firstborn. They're going to do all of these things to you. And then they have the guy at the end that says, they saved my life. I opened the envelope and got on my knees to pray and thank them for saving me from the IRS. So I hear these commercials on all the stations because I listen to most different stations. Is that really an accurate way of describing what you can do?
Well, it's certainly the most extreme way of describing what we do. It's what gets the most attention. So, for example, I have many conversations each week with new potential clients, and the first thing I ask them is, if you could wave a wand, what would you like to see happen? They all tell me the same thing. I want one of those pennies on the dollar deals I saw on TV in the middle of the night, or I heard on the radio when I was driving home from work. And you know what? It's certainly possible. I'm looking at some results that we've gotten so far this year. $2,845,000. We've settled for $12,384.
Wow.
What's your phone number?
That's amazing.
We'll get to that later. $201,679. Compromise for $6,504. $73,497. $610. $24,281 on a case that I met the kid in the elevator and almost didn't want to take. We settled for $1,424.
That's amazing.
Okay.
$210,042.
How do they do it?
$1,580.
That's the next question.
Yeah, how do you do it?
Go ahead, keep on going. I love it.
There's no debtor's prison here if you don't pay your taxes. As long as there's no fraud, The liability has nothing to do with the amount the IRS finally accepts as a settlement for your taxes. The ability to pay is what drives everything. For example, I had a young lady who was making $1 million a year in the mortgage business back in 2008 or so, when the housing boom was just coming to an end. So in 2006, 7, and 8, she made $1 million. It was 1099. That means no withholding taxes. She ran up $1 million tax tab. We basically got her out of that liability for almost zero.
How'd you do it?
Why? Because in that particular case, we did a bankruptcy. Remember, income taxes aren't dischargeable in bankruptcy. Payroll taxes aren't. Some other taxes aren't. But income taxes are. What I'm trying to communicate to everyone here, everyone listening here, is that IRS collection, if you owe money to the IRS or the state, isn't all about pennies on the dollar, offers and compromise, and that kind of thing. You could have a situation where you're making too much money, or you have too much in assets for an offer and compromise. But we can still get you a $100 a month payment amount. So let's say you owe $100,000 and you make $80,000 or $90,000 a year. We can probably get you a $100 or $200 a month payment agreement. It just depends. The IRS has formulas for this kind of thing. So, for example, I told you there's no debtor's prison. The IRS is going to allow you a roof over your head. They're going to allow you food and clothing, an automobile to drive, operating expenses, health insurance, out-of-pocket health care, maybe a little bit of life insurance, child care, and, of course, your current taxes. If there's anything left over, it's the payment amount. Now, the key here is they're not going to let you live in Beverly Hills. You're not going to have a $10,000 or $12,000 or $15,000 a month mortgage payment. The IRS has what they call national and local standards for these types of expenses. So if you live in Los Angeles and you're a family of 4, the allowance is maybe $2,900. So if your housing expenses are higher, the IRS is not going to allow that. But there are other tricks to this in this business where we can actually get the IRS to accept the higher amounts. You may not get an offer in compromise, but remember, there is a 10-year collection statute. So after 10 years, the IRS can't collect the money anymore. They can't actively chase you and collect. Now, that sounds like a long time, but the one thing we all know is 10 years actually passes quickly. So sometimes game is to outrun the collection statute.
That's interesting.
And remember, there's more than just offers and compromises. There's more than just bankruptcies. There's more than just installment agreements, pay it over time. What if you want to sell your home and there's a tax lien? Can't do it. Have to deliver clear title. You've got to get a certificate of release of federal tax lien from the IRS. What if you're a business and you didn't pay your payroll taxes? How do you stay in business? Well, you need to make a deal with the IRS. How do you keep the IRS from assessing you personally? We have methods and methodologies for that also. What if you ran up a bunch of sales taxes and went out of business? What do you do about that? There's all kinds of areas that we practice in the collection and audit area.
I have a question for you. I have a question for you.
Sure.
So you said it's a 10-year statute of limitations. So let's say you owe the IRS $50,000, and over the 10-year period you pay them $20,000. See, after 10 years you don't owe them the other $30,000. Is that what you're saying, or is that how it works?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Wow.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So let me give you a better example. You're making $60,000 or $70,000 a year, and you do the math the way I described it to you. You take your income, you take your current taxes out, you take your housing out, your food and clothing out, your health insurance, and your car, 2 of them, by the way, one for you, one for your wife, and so on. At the end, you have $100 left over. You pay the IRS $100 a month for the remaining life of the collection statute. That's what we call a backdoor offer in compromise, a partial pay installment agreement, where you pay to the end of the collection statute and then you don't owe anything. Now remember, though, the IRS is going to file a tax lien. We have ways to get them not to file a tax lien, by the way, but that's for another time. They will file a tax lien. It may attach to your real estate. If it does, that's a different issue. We have other things we need to do to get that tax lien released after the 10 years runs. But if you don't own something to where the lien will attach, for the most part, it's real estate. When the 10 years passes, you're home free. Amazing. Now, the IRS will revisit this every 2 or 3 years. You can't file a tax return and show $300,000-$400,000 as income 3 years from now and not expect the IRS to come back and say, hey, we want some. But there are ways that we deal with that also.
That's interesting. That's wild. I did not know that. I didn't know there was a statute of limitations. 10
Sounds
years.
like very complicated, requiring real knowledge and expertise.
Oh, complete.
This is something that the average person could do, really.
No.
Well, here's the thing, Judge. In every business, there's a method to the madness. And here's the problem that I see, and here's how I teach my lawyers and CPAs and enrolled agents. In fact, we just did an 8-hour seminar last week on this subject. The problem is that if you go to your CPA or enrolled agent, you say, I owe the IRS $100,000, I owe $50,000, whatever it might be. Can you help me with this? They say to themselves, I've got 20 years experience. I've dealt with the IRS maybe 20 or 30 or 50 times. I can deal with this collection matter. Well, nothing can be further from the truth. The truth is that practitioners deal in the area of assessment. That is, they prepare tax returns. The tax returns get audited. They get good at audits or they don't. And that's that area. That's handled by revenue agents. Revenue agents add income or take away expenses, then give you the bill for the taxes after the audit at the end, and they say, can you pay it? You say no, and they say, have a great day. They then turn it over to collection, which is handled by revenue officers. It's easy to see who's more aggressive. The revenue agent, who just comes up with the numbers and adds some tax, or the revenue officer, who's the collector. Clearly, the collector is more aggressive. And here's the issue. It's not potato, revenue agent, revenue officer. It's an entirely different section of the IRM, the Internal Revenue Manual. If you go to Section 5 of the Internal Revenue Manual, it's about 3 inches thick, and it talks about collection. It is not the same as audit. So it's not potato. You need to be doing business with somebody who does this work every day. People also think that they need a tax lawyer for this kind of work. That's not a correct analysis either. The reason is this. Tax lawyers deal with structuring forward-looking transactions. And you can't be in this business and handle 1 or 2 cases a year. We're on the phone every day with the IRS. You can hear my voice. I sound like the Godfather because I'm hoarse. I've been on the phone 6 hours today with the IRS and the state. And I have tax lawyers that work for me. I have paraprofessionals that I've trained. And the fact is, we see something new almost every day, and we've been doing this a long, long time.
Well, it sounds like an expensive proposition, because I was thinking these people are coming on these shows and they're saying, not the shows, but the interviews, and they're saying, well, I owe the government $50,000 and I got out for $11. Where did they get the money to pay people like you?
Well, they're going to have to borrow it or somehow come up with it. They've got to borrow it from grandma, from their friends, and so on. But it's not quite as expensive as you might think.
Okay, what's it look like? Give us a range, because obviously people need to know that.
Let me give you an idea. This side owed $2,845,000. that we settled for $12,384. Paid us about $20,000.
That's not much.
Not so bad. Not even 1% of the amount. A fraction of 1% of the amount. The kid I met on the elevator, I wish he owed more money, which is why I almost didn't take the case. But he was insistent. He owed $24,281. We settled it for $1,424. We charged him about $6,000. It's strictly an hourly driven proposition because we never know what we're up against. But it's not as expensive as you think. The fees run from $5,000 to about $25,000. Some run more for business problems, payroll tax issues, and other things that might come up. But the pure tax resolution, not that expensive. $5,000 to $25,000. Most of these are somewhere around $10,000 to $15,000.
Well, it certainly sounds like a pretty good investment.
Yeah, you save a lot of money.
Pretty good investment. Do you have a pretty good idea? I know people used to ask me, can you guarantee me the outcome of my lawsuit? Do you have a pretty good idea when you get the basic information from these people where you're going to end up?
That's a good question, Judge. And the answer is, like anybody who is seasoned in whatever business they're in, we know with a very, very high degree of certainty, once we have the information in hand, whether that offer in compromise, for example, is going to be accepted, or whatever the other methodology for solving the problem might be. So in this office, 95% of the offers of compromise we submit are accepted. Yeah, we have to appeal about 20% of them because we get intractable revenue officers, people calling themselves offer specialists, and like that. But 95% at the end of the day of the offers that we submit are accepted by the IRS. That's more than double the amount that based on the IRS statistics.
It's good.
That's very good.
Yeah, it is.
So can people reach you? I wrote down a phone number. So let me see if it's the right number. It's the Tax Resolution Institute, 877-829-8370. Is that the number?
That's correct. Or you can reach us at taxresolutioninstitute.com, taxresolutioninstitute.org. Make sure you're looking for Tax Resolution Institute. No substitutions. 877-829-8370. You can reach us at 877-829-8370. The consultation is free, and we will guarantee that there's a solution to your problem.
I like that word, guarantee.
You guys should help Paul Manafort out.
You know what? I bet you he probably could have done him some good.
I bet you he could have. Are you kidding me?
I don't think by now, though. They give you immunity.
He could have gave you his ostrich jacket for payment.
There are a lot of cases that I read about that I can see on the surface were not handled properly. To give you an example, a very well-known personality came to us. The IRS said he owed $176 million.
Wow.
That's the biggest case we handled, and they're typically not that big. When I was through, we got him a refund of $2.1 million. So talk about a huge swing. That's probably the biggest example.
He better give you courtside seats.
Of cases we handle.
That's awesome.
That's really remarkable.
Most of the people that come to us. Most of the people that come to us owe between $25,000 and $250,000. The next level are between $250,000 and $1 million. And you'll be surprised. $1 million earners come. They owe $1 million in taxes. They got lawyers, CPAs, business people who didn't pay their payroll taxes, business people who didn't pay their sales taxes. If you want to stay in business and you owe payroll taxes, or you want to stay in business and you owe payroll taxes, you need to call us here at the Tax Resolution Institute,
You should probably put that on your direct dial, ladies and gentlemen. This is the guy you need if you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS.
Amazing.
Call Peter Stephan. I'm amazed by it. That's why I had him as a guest.
Great.
He really knows his stuff.
Absolutely. Amazing.
So thank you very much, Mr. Stephan. I enjoyed hearing of it. And I'll probably call you.
You're welcome.
You know.
Wait,
You're
Judge,
welcome. My pleasure.
You need help? Judge, you need help?
Guys, don't pay your taxes and call me.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks again, Mr. Stephan.
You're welcome. Have a
Bye
good
now.
Wow, that's amazing, huh?
Are we going to a break?
Yeah, we're going to a break right now.
Okay, we'll talk.
All right, well, after this, you will.
Yes, we will.
Talk Radio, 1050 AM, KCAA.
Did you ever meet a lawyer that was for the people? Someone who had the best interests of the people at heart? Herb Dodell has been a lawyer for more than 50 years and has been a Superior Court judge for 9 years, having presided over more than 9,000 cases. In this show, he will reveal the secrets of how things really work in the legal system, so you can maximize your position and benefit most when you're in trouble and need someone on your side to simplify the process for you. For more information, email the judge at askjudgeherb@gmail.com. That's askjudgeherb@gmail.com.
Well, that was certainly interesting.
Yes, very informative.
Fascinating, because it comes down to it. It's really who you hire, whether it's a doctor or a lawyer or somebody who's a specialist in something.
Auto mechanic.
You know, you get what you pay for.
Telling you.
There's no question about it. This guy really knows. When I talked to him about doing the show and got into specifics about how do you do it, because I'm just amazed that somebody gets on the radio. I keep hearing these commercials, and I'm wondering how the hell they're paying for it. He's right. Borrow from grandma. I mean, if you know that you're going to save $20,000 or whatever it is, that's a very good investment.
Yeah.
It's a great investment, because what happens, most people don't think about it, is that it's like the statement, interest never sleeps.
That's true.
The IRS penalties and interest keep on going.
Oh, they pile up. They pile up.
And make it impossible for people to pay.
Yeah, they bury them.
It's impossible to pay.
Yeah.
He didn't go into details, but we did talk to somebody recently on the show about garnishments and liens on your house. They don't take your house. That's what he told me.
Yes.
Mr. Stephan told me.
Yes.
And they'll put a lien on it because they figure at some time down the road, you're going to want to sell it or you're going to refinance it, and you got to pay them first. So they're just patient. They just hang out and wait for it to happen. And garnishments, they grab your check. They can take 15%, what he told me. They can take 15% of your Social Security benefits. So if you're living on Social Security, they take 15% off the top.
Well, you shouldn't be owing taxes if you're only living on Social Security anyways, right?
Well, people made a lot of money in the past. Certainly there's passive income that comes in, and people
I'm just saying.
flipping coupons. But you need a guy like this if you are not doing everything exactly the way you're supposed to do it. Payroll taxes especially are a difficult problem because it's personal liability. You can't hide behind a corporation.
Yeah, you can't have I'll tell you another thing. He is a good accountant. I mean, that's, a great accountant is key to stay out of trouble.
But he also said something that most accountants or tax lawyers are looking at things prospectively. They're looking at how do we prevent something happening.
Right.
That's planning, tax planning.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy
that when you're already in trouble.
You're already in trouble. The planners didn't do a good job, or you didn't, and now you're in trouble, and they're going to come. They knock on your door. The IRS will pay a visit to your house. They're unrelenting. From what I'm told, these are people like with a bad rash. They never go. They just don't go away.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And they just keep on going. And I suppose if you try to talk to them yourself, it's like criminal defendants trying to represent themselves on a criminal trial. Not a great idea. Not a great idea. It's worth the difference to pay somebody like this to bail you out of the hole, because those financial worries or it drives people stressed out.
Well, that's what they do crazy things. They commit suicide. They lose their minds, or financial situations is just as bad as that. Well, I don't know if it's just as bad, but having health problems and bad financial situations are probably two of the biggest, I'm sure, killers of humans.
Stress.
That's stress. Pure stress.
The financial issues are what get you stressed out to start with.
And then gets you sick. And then you get sick.
That's right. You get sick from that.
Exactly.
It's the old story of cause and effect. You
Right.
know, if you're berated by phone calls from the IRS or whatever it is that they do to chase you, pretty soon those people are not sleeping at night.
Yeah.
And that's not a great place to be. It's better to find somebody that can bail you out and save you from that kind of aggravation. It's worth every penny that you have to pay for it.
Sounds like Peter Stephan knows his business.
But I was surprised that he was talking about fees. I would have thought it would have been much more expensive.
Yeah.
Sounded like it was a reasonable way of dealing with it.
Well, he said anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000, and I'm sure if you owe maybe $25,000, anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000, it's minimal, the fees.
I suppose. I don't know if people would bother over $5,000 or $10,000.
I wouldn't.
But the IRS, they just look at the numbers. You owe, and they're going to come and get it from you, whatever it is.
They don't care. It's weird.
Well, I don't know about caring. I suppose those people have hearts and souls.
No, they don't. The IRS.
It's a job. It's a job.
It's a job. It's just
a job.
Listen. It's like anything. I don't want to get into.
Look, collection agencies, are they any better?
No.
I mean, they're going to call you. They're going to threaten you. They're going to do all those same things to you.
They're going to drive you crazy. They're
going to make it difficult for you.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
That's even trying to collect judgments. Creditors can be tough too. We talked about that on one of the shows, and we had a collection lawyer on that show, Howard Blum.
Yeah.
We talked about what do you do when their creditors are chasing you.
You even have a YouTube video on it.
Well, I do, but that's the purpose for this show. I'm going to repeat it one more time for today, at least. That we're here to provide you with information, number one, and if it's interesting, that's great. If it's not of any real use other than information, that's fine.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to do, what we are doing, because people are telling me that, I get emails saying, thanks, I just resolved a big issue, whatever it is. We give them guidelines to tell them, how do you do it when it happens to you? And because we tell the stories of people, real live cases, which we're going to go back to hopefully next week or the week after. If we were able to help you understand what's going on and not be frightened about the unexpected and the uncertain, when you have information and knowledge that you can use to get you out of a situation, you're far less stressed.
Yeah.
That's what we're really shooting for here, is to make people more comfortable, less chaotic than what they would be without
any knowledge.
This knowledge, yeah. And we give them a little spiritual twist, too, because everything I was telling somebody today, as a matter of fact, I said, they think they may win today, but down the road, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, they're going to give it back.
Yep.
So you can feel safe about that. That will happen. That's the rule of the universe.
Karma. And by the way, if you want to ask the judge a question, please feel free to hit him up on email, askjudgeherb@gmail.com. Askjudgeherb@gmail.com. He also has his book.
The book is great. We don't deal with taxes in the book, by the way, but we deal with almost every other conceivable thing and how to do it. It's for dummies and for not so many dummies.
What are you talking about, me? All right, listen.
Okay, it's called From the Trench to the Bench.
There you go. Available on Amazon.com.
Yes, it is.
Well, Judge, it was great seeing you again. Great
yes,
show.
Yes, you will.
And I'll see you in a week or two, I guess.
Yes, you will.
All right, well, enjoy your vacation in New York.
I will.
Okay, and I'll be stuck here in L.A. while you're having a good time in New York. All right, say hello to all my friends out there, too. The Howard Stern Show.
All your friends?
I have a few out there.
Well, I'll buzz Howard.
Okay. Put a subpoena on his ass. All right. We got to go listen. Great show, Judge.
See you next week.
All right. For the people of Judge Herb Dodell, and check out the YouTube videos, too. Judge Herb Dodell. All right.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
So,